So, need to know where the link would be to my live. Anyone know where I can find that easily? No? Didn't think so? Yeah, me either. It's alright though. Let's see if we can go over here and find it. Well, I did find it. Share, copy link, copy link. All right, let's see if that sends it to where it needs to be. Maybe so. Hot damn. Definitely don't like this scene layout at all. At all. Oh, I do see somebody. Miss Caitlin, how are you doing today? I am uh, having to spend 25 minutes to do a live here on TikTok for me to be able to reset my credentials in order to use the studio software to cross stream. So I basically just have to sit here and twiddle my thumbs for for 24 more minutes until until all that updates and whatnot. So I don't know if you followed anything on the page I put up there a little bit ago. Though the I lost my hard drive. Hard drive completely failed, and that made me lose my studio software. Made me lose my scene setup through everything with the studio software. So including TikTok's live studio too. So it's been a hell of a day trying to back up and get everything back to where. Not that I think that I would need to do a live shot or anything from severe weather here in the next little bit, but uh, that that definitely, whew, that one stung. But like I said, not that we're expecting to have to do any type of live coverage over the next little bit because there's not any type of systems that are that are anticipated to come in that could be severe unless we had to do something for the heat. But other than that, it's just a matter of getting it back on before something happens as like we go into fall. Because otherwise, and here's the damn thing too. Here's the hard drive that failed. So I went to do an RMA for the warranty for Western Digital, and they do not have their own in-house data recovery unit or team. So they sent me a list of three to four different companies that I can call off and get a quote to see if they can at least save what's on here. But I have no idea. I've seen that those companies can run four, five, $600, and it's like Jesus. Uh, yeah, we. So here's the thing too. We are very close to getting into the part of August where three-quarters of everybody's grass is going to be burnt ass orange, and everybody else's grass is going to be completely awesome and green. And that's just from the nature of our systems. When we have so much heat that's isolated here, the later in the day the more lift and convection that can occur, and that's what usually pops up those small isolated kind of popcorn microbursts. So when we have those, it'll only I mean, even right now here, I'm gonna go into the radar mode up here, and you see up here near Pocahontas just a small little cell, right? And these are about the same size as the little popcorn isolated cells that we get usually in the later part of the day, 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, right? Well, these, like, even this cell is only, if from the yellow to the yellow, about 5 miles wide. Our microbursts are usually even smaller than that. So if you only have two or three of those over the entire county, they may drop an inch of rain, but the rest of the county is completely dry. And on top of all that, on top of all the heat, on top of um, the lack of rain and everything else just burning up, everybody's grass is just going to be like so. Yeah, so oh, see, my wife has popped in there. Oh, what is that? Said something popped on my head that said join the fan club. But Miss Elizabeth, that is my wife. She has popped in here too to do some engagement work. Hello, dear. From the front of the house comparative to the back of the house. See, 6 minutes, so 19 minutes left to go of me just twiddling my thumbs here. I'm in Minnesota right now, flying back to Memphis Tuesday morning. Hopefully the weather cooperates. All right, so I would pull up my my model guidance over here, but with TikTok, if I pull up any web browser, it'll automatically delist my stream because it's saying that I'm using unoriginal content or somebody else's content. So I'm not going to bring that screen up, but I am looking, and I'm going to pull up model guidance for Tuesday. So you said you're coming in from Minnesota. What time is your flight from Minnesota here to Memphis? Oh, well, Tuesday morning, but let's see. Morning. All right. Let me pull this over right quick. So I'm looking for my model guidance. I'm using Pivotal Weather. Usually the same type of screenshots you see when I post, the guidance on the page. So it looks very similar. I am going to scroll down to precipitation type and rate. Put us on a forecast loop. And let's see, Tuesday starting at midnight. Everything looks good here. Uh, there is, let's see, there is some shower. Oh, those are going to be later in the day. You'll already be back here. I was going to say there are some showers that form around the southern part of Minnesota, just above the Iowa state line, but that's already looking at around 4 p.m. or so. So if you've got a morning flight, that looks good. And then, like I was just saying a second ago, all of the popcorn showers, all the isolated pop-up showers that usually come later in the day, you shouldn't really run into that problem early morning either. So yeah, 11:30. That looks good. You should have a pretty uneventful flight on back. I definitely need some air therapy. I have not. Let's see. I haven't gotten out. At least gotten to fly out since February of last year. I think I went down to Tampa. No, I went somewhere. Elizabeth, I think I went somewhere for seeing Andrew in 24 too. But yeah, I hadn't got to fly in a while, and I definitely need to hear the sounds of some janky ass Spirit Airlines or some Southwest ding dings or something. Can't do anything like afford those Delta first class flights. Yeah, it has continued to creep up. That's for sure. I'm definitely a budget flyer in that aspect. I had to do a lot of flights to Orlando a couple years ago, and Spirit, no joke, has and everybody gives Spirit so much of a bad rap, and I understand on certain aspects of it, but their Memphis to Orlando direct it flies out to Orlando at about 6 in the morning, and the return flight is no shit at like 11 at night. So there were multiple occasions where I was actually able to go down there, do what I needed that day, and still come back on the same day. That was pretty awesome. And as long if you're willing to pay, the same stuff you do a la carte on other flights, that big seat up front was usually only about $30-$40 more, and yeah, it was never a problem with me. Just don't ever use a low budget, low cost carrier if you have connecting flights. That is my only rule. So that way, you know, you don't give them an extra chance to mess up. Yeah, I mean, for here, they've got a direct to Orlando, they've got a direct to Las Vegas, and they've got a direct to Fort Lauderdale. Um, I've I've never had the first problem with them. Of course, we all give them jokes, that uh, if the oxygen masks have to come down, you've got to have a roll of quarters on you to put, 4 or 5 quarters in, and then turn it on in order to get the oxygen to start flowing. Southwest, I definitely didn't mind. I always when I fly, I always have to check at least one bag because I carry uh, my one thing with me. Uh, so I always have to check a bag because I can't take that on a carry on. So Southwest, of course, was always a plus option if none of the other carriers could beat the price with the free bags put in. But now that the free bags is gone, that's not really sure and kind of up in the air too. But Southwest hadn't had any directs that I've needed to go to recently. I always had to hop over. One time Southwest let me down, but it was due to weather. But they were able to accommodate and put me up in a hotel room and whatnot until they got me back out the next day. So that's the only time I've ever needed like comp stuff or anything like that from the airlines. Southwest did misplace my bag once too, and they were quick to throw voucher money at me. So but Minnesota's on my bucket list too. I haven't been up there yet. Gotten to Detroit, gotten to Chicago, but I haven't eased over to Minnesota yet. Oh, let me see. That's not my live screen. Let me, real quick, I'm going to copy the link here. So give me 1 second. I'm not monitoring the chat, but I am going to roll over to the Facebook page for the damn weather and just say, hey, live on the talk for about another 20 minutes. Come join if you are awake and manic. Post. Yeah, that might get us an extra person or two just to say hi. Miss Ashley, you did. You caught alive. I was explaining just a second ago, though, we're kind of the same thing as the last time I went live. I've got to do two, in which I can't do them back to back either, but this is the first of two lives that have to be at least 25 minutes long on TikTok. And then I can at least unlock the software to run my studio software. So that way I only have to still do one broadcast and it can go to both Facebook and go to TikTok at the same time. Because that's, I don't want any of the live coverage days where I do have to go live to only be stuck on one platform. There's software companies like Restream that I could use, but they're $19, $29, $39 a month, and I'm not willing to spend that yet. If the page gets a little bit more income on monetization, then I'll cross that bridge. But until then, it's just the cost isn't worth what it can do if I can just get it working over here. All right, Miss Caitlin, I appreciate you. You have a great rest of your night. Pleasure as always. And Miss Ashley, I appreciate you stopping in for a little while as well. And again, I have nothing really to sit here and chit chat or talk about that I've prepped. So, by all means, just whatever you got, throw it at me, and and I'll just chit chat. I appreciate that. I cannot though. I cannot throw under the bus or truthfully compete in a lot of ways with a lot of the broadcast Mets, just simply because they have the resources that I don't. They've got studio software that is out of this world, and I'm running off of a desktop PC that has two monitors and one thing of radar scope that's not even the full blown professional version. So the only difference, truthfully, is that I can say whatever the hell I want to say. I can talk to you like I'm talking to you while we're at the bar, and that's just something that people on broadcast media can't do, at least television broadcast media. So, they have to polish a product. You're right. They don't keep it real. They are in the same business as the people who write clickbait articles. And while they do what they can to not seem clickbaity, the way that their entire business model works is by you clicking, you watching your numbers, and then them selling ads based off of those metrics. So, if they have a kick-ass quarter two of viewership and they get good Nielsen ratings, April, May, June, well then July, August, September, they've increased, what they're charging people to do rates with. So they've got to polish it up, and they've got to do everything to maximize that. And you lose that realness that you were talking about on the way. So you and me both. My favorite Dave Brown moment, honestly, was Super Tuesday 2008. That was that's in my top 5 of all the shit Memphis has gone through in the 43 years that I have been on this earth. And hearing Dave Brown say, "This is a tornado emergency. I have never heard of one of these in all my life. That is how serious this is. A tornado emergency for Shelby County." It is still imprinted. That entire shit is still imprinted in my brain. So he was, and he always has been in that aspect. You got to give Ron credit too. Everybody there, truthfully, and it's no secret that WMC is the absolute gold standard pinnacle of television broadcasting for weather for this region. And that's not taking anything away from WREG. That's not taking anything away from Fox or ABC. But the people, I got you. I understand. I understand what you're talking about. That was a shitty day. I think I was live for about just under 6 hours that day, from the moment that it started handling everything and when. I could say former stepdaughter, my ex-wife's daughter, she was working in Domino's and when that hit, and destroyed her building. Of course, it did so much damage to the high school. Um, Not too long ago, we actually went through there, and the high school is still a huge fix in progress from that too. But watching it continue to move east, and I went back to do some of my own self criticism and some of my own reflection watching that broadcast that I did, and even I made some comments as it was getting ready to pass into Tipton County into the river that I just thought that it was completely, you know, losing everything that it had as far as the environments. It was moving into a different environment that I did not think could hold on to anything that was EF1, EF2, or above. And then just 3, 4 scans later, that sucker just went absolutely ape shit. Going through Tipton County was rough. My primary care doctor had her, St. Francis. They had because when she moved from Millington to Covington, I followed her up there because I didn't want to change primary care doctors. I'll follow her until the day she no longer provides. But that her office was closed for quite some time. They had to relocate to Atoka. So when the way that happened, and again, if I could get my other screen here the way that I could, I would bring all this up right now. But there was at one point 2. But that moment that there were 2 was very, very short of a time. I'm going to, all right, like on radar scope up here, let's say that the first one came across the river about right here and dissipated, while right here you had the second one form up. So it was confirmed that there were 2 different conditions there that allowed for the formation of 2. It was not the same exact one that just, dipped out and then came over. So as this first one, number 1 there dissipated, number 2 got on the ground, intensified incredibly rapidly, and then just started beelining, to the east and the northeast. But that was, again, a completely horrible day. And I feel for you. I feel for everybody that was in Covington and the surrounding area, because that absolutely is one of the ones that add to some long-term trauma and, some scars that just simply, don't heal. So I'm not sure how directly it affected you, but just the fact that you were already. Say no lie. Hey, sorry about that. Yeah, it is clear skies out. So I do have a ticker that somewhat explains that if you've followed that a little bit. But I'm live right now because I need 2 lives that are 25 minutes long or longer that will unlock the advanced version of TikTok Studio, so that way I can cross stream directly. So, and I am 24 minutes in, so I'm not going to do the second one today because I'm already spent. But yeah, in Brighton, I got you. Yeah, it was just as horrid as yep. Hey, Miss Shelley. Yeah, I appreciate that. I just needed to come on and do any live with any content, and engage back and forth for 25 minutes to satisfy a new TikTok requirement. That is a bane and a pain in my ass right now. So, but with that, I'm now coming up on the 26-minute mark, so I am going to go ahead and hop off here. Miss Ashley, thank you, and I appreciate the chit chat. Since then, we've installed a storm shelter. Absolutely. If for whatever reason you are in, the path and you don't have your shelter, you're not at your house, anything like that, it's always, everybody always tells you and spits out the same thing: go to the lowest floor, the centermost floor. For me, I'm going to tell you, go to wherever in your house puts the most amount of walls between you and the outside. Because if a 2x4 is coming through at umpteen ever miles an hour, you want it to go through as many walls as it can before it gets to you. So, but awesome. Feel free, Miss Ashley, anytime that I come on live and do these. If y'all get the notification, come chit chat and bullshit with me. But I'm gonna hop off here. I'll probably do my next one tomorrow, something like that. And if I do, I'll give a shout out on both both the pages as well. So again, both of you, Miss Shelley, Miss Ashley, y'all have a wonderful rest of your night. I appreciate you both, and thank you for y'all following the damn weather in Memphis. I appreciate you.